I'm up here in Iowa planting beans.
365 days a year.
Got a big bean field off to the east.
Tetra Ryz.
Then we're gonna go sight it in.
All right, a little bit of reverse TSI, if you will.
You can tell he's done, fully mature. His head's huge, body's huge.
Here's a great hunt from the fall of 22. Check it out. Well, welcome back to another episode of Deer Season 23. The last couple didn't exactly have a happy ending. So now we work towards increasing overall food. We've already got plans on how to decrease the herd even more this year. We'll have to balance things back out because we lost a lot of bucks last year. And anytime you have EHD, it's always important then that you pay attention to your overall herd structure. So we're gonna be doing those things coming into this year. As you roll into summer and you roll into food plot time, we put a lot of different plants in the ground. We try to do it in a fashion that makes sense for that particular farm or that particular deer herd. And we swap between beans and corn. Often we'll rotate. So there's a lot of different thinking and a lot of different processes that go into how we actually plan for the fall. We talk about it's 365 days a year. Well, you're going to see some of the steps we take and then hopefully get a little information out of this particular episode.
Well, we just loaded the drill up with some Dynagrow beans from Nutrien Ag Solutions. We got all our corn in the ground, so we're continuing rolling on. Planting season is here. Like I said, we finished up corn yesterday. We just loaded up the beans, so we're gonna keep rolling. I got the boys with me today. We're gonna head to a few farms and plant some bean fields and some fields that should have some big deer, some up and coming deer on them this year for us to hunt on the hit list. But as soon as we get a spray day, we're gonna get everything sprayed, and hopefully by Friday, every bean field's planted, and we already got corn in the ground. So we're rolling. Wade's down in Missouri working some dirt. I'm up here in Iowa planting beans. So stick with us, let's go. Well, plot number one here with beans is in the ground. We no-till a lot of our beans in because there's no use in working the dirt. There's already enough erosion. So bean drill, we set 1/2 to 3/4 inch on no-till ground and get those beans in there, let the press wheels press them in and let the rain bring them up out of the ground. But plot number one is in here at a spot we call Yegi. A lot of history here. We've killed many deer here. Carson killed a really good bow buck here last year. And there's always deer here to chase. So the next farm we're gonna go plant beans on is actually a brand new farm. It's a 120 we just picked up a couple months ago. Wade and I did a burn on it. We burnt off the plot we're gonna put. It's gonna be green on the front side and beans on the south side. So we're gonna go put the beans in the ground on the new burn area that Wade and I created. And hopefully this 120 is what we think it's gonna be. But look forward to seeing the deer and seeing what kind of potential it could bring. Well, we're rolling on here planting beans and made it down in here to this bottom field we call 3-2 bottom. And it's just a special spot. We had a really special deer here that was a 4.5 last fall, should be a 5.5 this year. We're gonna put the beans in the ground and hopefully, fingers crossed, that we run across that deer as a 5.5-year-old this year down in this bottom. Should be one of the top of the list come this fall. Well, This year is starting off just like last year. We dry conditions. These beans are 8 inches tall and the deer are putting the pressure on them. We haven't had a lot of rain, so they're not out competing the pressure. So Wade and I today are out here putting up a fence. We run a 3-wire electric fence to keep the deer out of them as much as we can so we can grow them up. We're gonna put up the electric fence, put up our Nutrien farm sign out here on this field, and see what we can do to grow some beans here throughout the drought conditions.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the deer eating our bean field.
One little tip that we've learned over the years of trying to keep these deer out, we've had the best success with this tape. It's an 1.5 inch tape, and it just seems to catch their eye, keep them back a little bit, but the tape is the way to go. Another little tip that we've learned is our spacing. We usually space our wires out 3 foot from inside to outside, and then we do 18-inch gaps. Seems to work the best. We do 2 on the inside, 1 on the outside, like I said, at 18 inches, and then that middle wire right there in the middle between 18 and 36 inches. It works, not 100%, but it definitely allows the beans to get up and keep most of the deer out of the beans. But you do have those clever ones that figure out how to get through, over, under, however it may be, to these beans. But
We got a big bean field off to the east.
hopefully they go over there and don't come into here and wreck our beans for this particular food plot.
You know, soybeans are one of those plants that they come up rather easily, but then they're slow to get up and get out to that 6-8 inch height. And during that process, while you're waiting for that root system to develop, oftentimes, if you're close to a deer bedroom or you have any sort of deer pressure at all, you're gonna see a lot of browse pressure in that field. And something we've done to combat that is increase the population we plant in any individual field. If we have a small field, call it 2 acres to 5 acres, we're gonna take that population up to 220, 240,000 plants. And if the deer pressure is really, really bad, you might have to increase that up to perhaps 300,000 plants per acre. A normal rate would be 140,000 to 160,000 plants. And the theory there is, if you get a lot of pressure, they might eat you out of house and home, but you might still have a correct population going into when the bean plant finally starts to grow. And then the last step we take on really small fields are fields that aren't getting as much rain, deer pressure's really heavily. We might go up and put a hot wire around that field if it's an acre, acre and a half, 2 acres. If it's a larger field, call it 8, 9, 10 acres, we could get by with a lower population. So we toy with population, we toy with herbicides, we use hot wires when needed, and we're really just trying to optimize the bean plant's chances of growing and then the deer ultimately eating them and then using them through the winter, because that's the goal. So we try as hard as we can, we keep the pH right, we fertilize heavily, and we do the best we can to make sure that the deer have a winter food source, which is the real goal when it comes to planting these beans. They're high in fat, they're low in acid, the deer love them, the palatability is high, whether it's the green plant in the summer or then going into the winter. So we feel like we've got the ultimate combination with this particular planting of Nutrien beans.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
Well, today we're going to do a little bit of sighting in. I just took off the Tetra Max single pin off my bow here, and I'm going to go with the Tetra Max Ryz. It has the double pin. It allows me to have my pin set on a specific distance and also have another distance. And I ran into that issue out in Alberta shooting the single pin last year, always having to adjust my sight, but having the double pin here will allow me that much more of a variance between whatever my top pin is set at and then my second pin. So it gives me 2 pins but still gives you that concentration of a single pin that I like so much. Allows me to dial in so much more. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it all dialed in here and set up on my VXR. Then we're gonna go sight it in. Okay, so I sighted my bow in at 20 using the infinite adjust plate, and then also the horizontal slide to adjust the left and right. Got it sighted in at 20, had my wheel here at 0, and then I worked my way back every 10 yards and figured out where it was at, all the way back to 60. And wherever this top needle lands, whatever number that top needle lands on, whenever you get to 60, mine landed on 35. That is the tape that I use and put on here for my actual yardage. So all these tapes have little numbers across the top. I take tape 35 here, and that would be my tape. I got it sighted in at 20, I got it sighted in at 60, come up with the number 35 tape. So when my bow's set on 20, the top pin, that yellow bottom pin is technically like 43 yards. So make sure everything's still dialed in and I got the correct tape. So with HHA system, it seems to be fairly easy. You shoot it at 20, shoot it at 60, find the right tape, and they already got all the spacing lined out perfectly for each individual bow and different speeds. Just like that, my Tetra Ryz is sighted in and ready for Alberta September 1st.
You know, other projects, as we go into the fall, we've got one particular farm that has a lot of cedars on it, and cedars are great to a certain extent. When they're scattered out and deer feel comfortable walking in them, there's no place I'd rather be overlooking a cedar glade that's anywhere from waist high to 10 feet or so. However, when they start encroaching upon each other and really choking out a farm, you know, cedars that are 20 to 40 or 50 years old, they can get just absolutely too thick, so thick that the deer won't even use them. So I'm gonna go into this one particular really thick area that the deer aren't using much, try and create some trails, create some pods for bedrooms, and see if I can enhance the cover on this particular farm. All right, a little bit of reverse TSI, if you will. We've got a 80-acre parcel here that is being overrun by small cedars. It's so thick the deer don't use it, we can't walk through it, and we're actually going to go in and create some bedrooms, some small pocket bedrooms in amongst the cedars. I think it is reverse TSI because I'm actually thinning trees today. And that's the tool for the job, I can tell you that. I'm going to stop here for a second and kind of describe what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make paths through these cedars, and all I want is a freeway, multiple freeways through the cedars to where they can get through them. Right now it's so clogged up, we can't walk through them, the deer can't walk through them. It's still going to be tight and secure, but it's going to, I think, enhance traffic and also enhance overall bedding up here. A lot of this south facing stuff, some of this east facing stuff should work well in combination with a food plot that we have down on the bottom. But I think with this thermal cover, enhancing the bedroom and all the existing cedars, I think late season it's going to be an absolute charm. It's good for northwest wind, so it should be magical. So we'll just keep on whittling away and making progress. prep work, getting ready for the coming season, but last year we didn't show every single hunt from fall of 22. We've got a few up our sleeve, and you're going to see the first one right now, and then we're going to continue to put some out in the next few episodes as we get fired up and get ready to start the actual hunting within deer season 23. Here's a great hunt from the fall of 22. Check it out.
You can tell he's done, fully mature. His head's huge, body's huge.
That deer is an ancient warrior.
A buck that we've been after for so many years.
Been around a long time.
Well, here we go. Who wouldn't be excited about a day where the high is around 10 degrees? We've got a northwest wind at about 15 to 20 and pressure 30.2 and sky high. It might be 30.3 by now. So we're going back in where we sat last night, and hopefully the target, I thought I had 2 targets last night. One walked by and I just couldn't shoot him. So hopefully the Luke buck or perhaps that big kicker 9 shows up tonight, and we'll get after it. That first deer walked out last night. I thought he was going to be a target, and once I saw him, I just couldn't squeeze the trigger. Pictures are one thing, a sighting is different, and I really felt like, you know, we need to give him another year. So I didn't pull the trigger on him. Hopefully tonight we see something we can pull the trigger on. Luke buck for sure, and maybe that big kicker 9. Just flying through the snow. Flying through the snow. Well, we are settled in. We're ready to rock and roll. We had a bit of a walk in here, but we're back in my favorite late season spot. We got 9 acres of beans in front of us, 3 different trails that convene right here that have green under that snow, and big heavy south facing cover all to our north, hunting on a northwest wind. And we'll see what shows up tonight. Last night was simply incredible. We didn't see exactly the buck we wanted, but tonight might be a different story. We'll find out. I'm excited to be here, I know that. He's working his grave. His head's huge, body's huge. You can tell he's done, fully mature, you know. Huge. We are in the middle of a heavy downpour right now. And Perry's scared to walk into the blind. Well, I got news for him. We're going. Actually, this little mist and stuff just going to make it that much better this evening. Just some little rain squalls coming through with this major front. You know, it was in the 70s yesterday. It's supposed to be in the 30s tomorrow through next week. So this is the day. This is the transition day of temperature. Temperatures are plummeting, pressure's rising, and these deer know there's a major front coming. So I suspect we could see really good movement here this afternoon. Nice and good and wide, ain't he? That's a big old lane over there. That's probably, we were just sitting there figuring out. We figured out Luke buck was 9.5. And I believe that buck's about the same age. It's rare to have 2 deer of that age class in and around the same dirt, but believe it or not, we have not killed either one. We've tried, we just haven't been able to do it, but they're both ancient warriors. Well, happy 2023, happy new year. Here we are, January 1st. It is the grand finale. Wade and I have been waiting on this wind to go to this particular spot. It's a east-northeast wind. We don't get it very often, but boy, when we do, we love climbing into this spot we're going to tonight. big bottom field full of beans, a green patch right in front of us, a big cut cornfield to the south of us. I have a feeling we could be in for an epic sit tonight here as we start the new year, because we finally got our win. We're going into our spot. So happy new year. Grand finale rolls on. Wade's up to bat. I'm up to bat. We're going to go have a good night. Well, we got in just in time. It's 2:27 and the first deer's out, so this field is big food. And you sit here early season, you see, looking at 20 acres of food, you see 10, 15 deer, a lot of deer. You get here this time of the year, that ratchets way up because this south-facing hillside is awesome during the late season. We're liable to see 50, 70 deer or more tonight because this is a wintering ground. And that's one of those things we talk about, within 13. Early season, you have bucks in certain areas, as they're coming out of the summer feeding pattern, and then you transition in and through the rut and all the different stages that are involved there. Well, when you get to the late season, you've got thermal cover and food, you can really stack some deer in, and that's the situation we have here. I'm excited to see what we see tonight.
He's probably, what, 9 years old at least?
I think he's 9.
And we just got it done right here at 20 yards. Unbelievable. We've had an incredible night. And we just got it done on an old buck.
A horse.
And giant body. Wow. Looked up and he was standing at 30 yards. He just stepped out. But
because we were paying attention to those deer down there. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was so much fun on an absolute warrior.
He ain't too far off this green lane. I'll just walk right down to him. Wow. What a frame. And the head. Jeez. Unbelievable. It's just different whenever you kill one of this age. Been around a long time.
That's awesome.
Running this bottom.
He's been around. He's an ancient warrior.
Yeah, he is. Awesome deer. Get a tag on him and we're gonna scoop him up.
Okay.
And talk about him out by the gate. That's right here. He is now legal for us to move him. Man, how about that for January 1st?
What a way to ring in the new year.
Yeah.
We celebrated a little bit last night. We were both a little tired and we said, man, if we saw a big deer, it's gonna liven us up, and it did. A buck that we've been after for so many years. What an exclamation point to the grand finale here. This is awesome.
Yeah, a 9.5-year-old buck that they just don't get of this age very, very often. So that all in itself is a trophy. And like I said, just to be able to chase a deer of this age and this caliber, super wide deer, awesome deer. I think this year and last year, 8 and 9 were his 2 best racks. And like I said, just an awesome deer, 9.5 years old, and couldn't be happier to round out my season here in Iowa in the grand finale.
Congratulations, buddy. That's awesome. Just an old warrior, much like some of the other deer we've had through the years, they get a history the older they get, and you're like, man, if we could just see him. And finally he came out, and I mean, he read a bow script,
Yeah,
and you had a traditions in your hands. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Walked out at 25 yards, and tradition said good night.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast, the most advanced deer movement predictor ever.